Assalamualaikum and salam sejahtera. Welcome to FAR110 lecture series number 6. And the topic that we covered in this video is source of documents and record transactions to journals. When you say the source of documents, it is a special design form that formally designed by the company, because the form will contain crucial details of business transactions that already occurred. So it can be the evidence of the transaction occurred, and we use source of documents to record the accounts. And the most important thing for source of document is it provides the audit trail of any events that occur in the business. And nowadays we have an e-documents where the source of documents are turned into a soft copy that nowadays is becoming more popular, because the e-documents or e-source of documents is easy to store and easy to retrieve, and most important all, is not easy to be lost in compared to the paper source of documents, because it's very difficult for you to find it or to retrieve, and also to it can't be lost or damaged. So now look into the journals. So journals is actually the original entry, or we call it as book of prime entry. Some books call it as day book. It provides the chronological of record of the transactions. So what to be recorded, posted into ledger later on, and provide a complete pictures of each transaction occurred. And also journal could help to prevent any errors. And for small firm, we only use general journal because it's sufficient for them to record. However, for a bigger firm, we need additionals of subsidiary journals to record, and called as subsidiary books. Okay. The type of journal, first type of journals is general journal, and the second one is called subsidiary or specialized journals. And under the subsidiary or specialized journals, we have cash disbursement journal, or popularly known as cash payment journal. And this journal records transactions that involve cash or check payments, means that all the cash outflow from the business must be recorded in this journal. And cash receipt journal records the transactions whenever we received any cash or any payment received in form of check or transferred into our bank account. So any time that we receive money, business receive money, must be recorded in cash receipt journals. Purchases journal records the purchases, means that record whenever we buy trading goods on credit. Remember, only the trading goods purchased on credit, then you record in purchases journal. And sales journals record the sales on credit journal, on credit. So record the sales, means that only the trading goods sales and it must be on credit transactions, on credit term, hutang. So then you record in sales journal. And another subsidiary journal is written inward or sales written journals, where this records the receiving goods returned by customers, and return outward or purchasers returns record whenever we return goods to supplier. Both written inward journal and written outward journal represent the records when the sales of the purchases is not being paid yet. Means that it's not a refund. If refund, then you need to record in cash disbursement journal because there is an outflow of money from the business. And the general journal records the opening and closing entries of the accounts at the end of the opening of your account for the year. And another transactions that will be recorded in general journal is purchases and sales of non-current asset on credit, corrections of errors, that is adjusting or reversing entries, or the owner contribute non-current asset, or owner withdrew the goods or the inventory. And if there is any other transactions that cannot be recorded in subsidiary or specialized journals, then we can record in general journals. Okay, look into the source of document of Memo. This is one type of source of documents, and Memo is an internal document, or it's not will not be visible to the outsiders. Okay, this is example. The most important thing in Memo is the date, the reference number, and also who prepared the memo. So these are the important details, and of course the particulars and the amount of describing the transactions. Okay, in here, in the example memo that I showed you is one IoT owner contributes a set of computer, and the amount of the computer is valued at 5,000 ringgit. So in order for you to record this memo, when we analyze this source of document, it does not involve cash inflow or cash outflow, and it does not involve the trading goods. So memo, the contributions of owner contributions of non-current asset must be recorded in general journal. So the records is in general journal. The format is date, must have date of column, particular column, folio. This is optional. If you use the manual records, so you need a folio because it will show where the ledger is posted, and debit column and credit column. So folio column you may neglect or avoid to write it, doesn't matter. And in the memo just now, the date is in June, the 2nd of June, and the capital, because owner contribute, then we translate into a capital transactions, owner contributes, and the contributions is the office equipment. And the capital should be on the credit side and office equipment on the debit side. This is challenging for new students that never learned the accounting previously. So it's very challenging what account to be debited and what account to be credited. This will cover in the next video on ledger transactions, recording transactions into ledgers, and I'll explain a bit more on how to figure out which account to be debited and which account to be credited. And in general journal, we have the narrations or explanations at the bottom of each transaction. For example, these transactions here explained as owner bring in or brought in computer to the business. Next source of document is invoice. Okay, in invoice, on the top of the form is actually the seller and the seller's detail. So who sent the invoice? If your supplier, means that you receive this invoice from supplier. If your enterprise or your business at the top of the form, means that you are the seller. So meaning that you issued the invoice to the customer. Okay, pretend the Ayumaniza is our businesses. So the Gadam Buku on top is the buyers, means that our customer, and we have the customer details. Look, there is the bill too. So that is our customer. And inside the invoice, there's details what are the customer has bought from us. The detail means that we what are the quantity, the descriptions, or the coding of the items that we send to the customer, and the price of each unit of that particular inventory, and the total, and you have the grand total. Invoice, if printed out by computer, you do not have the prepared by, checked by, or authorized by, because a computer generated invoice that already has the security measures that taken into consideration by the computer application itself. So you cannot enter any invoice informations only, the authorized personnel only. So some of the invoice do not have the signatures at the bottom, and invoice details must have the reference number, the date, and also the terms. You must put the terms on the invoice. The terms means that what promise that you gave to the customer. For example, here it says 5/15, net 30. Means that 5 is the 5% discount, cash discount, can be given to the customer if the customer pay this invoice within the 15 days. It means that this is the maximum days that you can delay if you want to have the cash discount of 5%. And net 30 is the maximum number of days you can delay the payment for this particular invoice. So invoice is represent whether it's a sales transactions or the purchases transaction, is that you issue the invoice to the customers. So the original copy is with the customer, and we only have the duplicate ones that we kept in the office. So the format for the sales journals referring to the invoice which I showed just now on 15th of January, the customer names of Gedung Buku on top, and the invoice number is S-0121, and the folio is sales ledger number 1, because this is the first customer that we have in our sales ledger, and the amount, the total in that invoice is 2,200. So you have date, particular, invoice number column, and also amount column. So these are the 4 columns that must have in the sales journals. So if you have other sales transactions and you record on subsequently, and remember your invoice number should be in subsequently used. Here is 121, then the second transaction is 122, and the third transaction becomes 123. And at the end of the month, you will transfer the sales to the sales account. The total of this sales journal will be transferred to the sales ledger with the amount of 5857.95. For the purchases journal means that we receive invoice from supplier or vendor, and we should have the original copy. And the format is more or less with the sales journal, the date, particular, invoice number, and the amount. If, let's say here we have Kilangsi as our supplier, and the date is 10th of January, and the invoice number here we record as per invoice that we receive. What are the invoice number, and what is the amount of that particular invoice. And again, at the end of the month, we will transfer the total purchases on credit to the purchases account with the total here 10,750.10. Moving on, for the source of document credit notes, again, it's more or less the same as invoice, but with the credit note on title. Again, the top of the document is the seller and the seller details, and then you have the buyer or the customer details, and what the details written by the buyer, and the signature of the necessary prepared by or checked by and authorized by. If generated by computer, these signatures are not required. And always remember the reference details of credit note is a bit different from the invoice. So invoice have credit term, but the credit note must referring which return involved with which invoice. So let's say here the invoice number 0121, so it refers to which invoice that this particular item has been returned. And again, you must have the date and also the reference number of credit note. So credit notes that we sent out to customer means that it is a sales return. So we must record in the sales return journal, other names called return inward journal, and the credit note. When we send to customer, of course, customer will have the original copy, and we only kept the duplicate one. And the format is date, particular, credit note number, credit note that we send to the customer, folio is an option, and amount column. More or less the same as sales journals format and also purchases format. Okay, let's say here the return was in 20 January and the customer name is Gedung Buku Ontak and the credit note number is 001 and the amount of returns. And if you have other returns, you will record subsequently and the credit note must be used in sequence. And at the end of the month, you will transfer the sales returns total to the sales return accounts or in the general ledger, where that is the amount of 250. For the purchases returns journals, or we call return hour journal, again, you will use the credit note received from supplier if you able to have that credit note. And sometimes it quite some time for you to wait for the supplier to send out your credit note. However, nowadays it's not the case because we can use alternative medium. For example, you can use email or you can use instant message to send out the copy of credit note. However, if your supplier is quite far from your premises, you may use the debit note issued to supplier as an alternative source of document to record the purchases returns, because the debit note issued to supplier represent what we send out to supplier. We can attach the debit note with the inventory or the items that we send out to supplier to inform the supplier what are the items that we returned. And the format for purchases return journals the same as sales return journals. The date, particular, reference number, so which reference that you're referring to, and also the amount column. Okay, let's say you use the credit note from supplier, so you put the credit note reference number, or you refer to the debit note, so you will have you will write the reference number of debit note that you send to supplier. At the end of the month, again, you will transfer the total amount of purchases return journals to the purchases return accounts, that is 430 in this example. Payment voucher, another sort of document, a very important one. Whenever you take out the money from businesses, and anytime that you take out the money, then you must issue the payment voucher explaining where the money goes. And the payment voucher is internal document. You do not send it to customer. Okay. The important is payment voucher number or the reference number of the payment voucher, the date, and where the money goes, paid to whom, and description on where, why the money has been drawn out, and the amount of cash in hand if you take out the cash in hand, or must put the detail of check number that you write off to for the payment, and the amount of in form of the checks, or and also the amount in the form of cash, and you have the total grand total of the money outflow due to this particular payment or outflow. And always for payment voucher, always has the one who prepared the payment voucher, and you also must have who checked out your supervisor or your manager who checked the information in the payment voucher. And also the payment voucher must be authorized by, and usually authorized by, the owner of the business if your business is enterprise. Okay, this payment voucher is very important whenever you take out the money from business. So next, the payment voucher will be recorded in cash disbursement journal, or popularly known as cash payment journal. And the as I mentioned earlier, payment voucher is this as a document to record in the cash disbursement journal. So the payment voucher must record any outflow of cash. And the format that I will show you is in the 6 column. You may also use the 3 column, means that you only write up the red in colors, the blue in colors can be left out. It is not really important for to remember this particular format using the 6 column or the 3 column. And the column that important in cash disbursement journal is date, particular. In particular means where the money goes to, and the payment voucher number, and the folio. Folio is an optional. If you do not want it, then it's okay. And you have discount received column, cash, and bank. Okay, let's say we have example of paying the utilities, the electricity bills. So the date is 6 January. The particular you put utilities, and the payment voucher reference number. And let's say the utilities has been paid using cash on hand. So you will put the amount in the cash column. Let's say you pay Kilangsi using business check. So here the date is 12 January. The Kilangsi as the particular because we pay out the Kilangsi, and the payment voucher number, this is the reference 02/012. And let's say when we pay Kilangsi, we receive a discount of 10 ringgit. So you will put in the column of discount received 10 ringgit, and the balances of your debt you paid by check, means that the money in the bank will be outflow of 1,990. So in the blue columns, you will put in the creditors or suppliers column, or account payables column. That is the total amount of that you owe to Kilangsi. And at the end of the month, again, you need to total up the discount received that you received from supplier, the cash balances, and also the bank total received, bank total payment, the total payment that you use, money in the bank. Okay, next, the source of document of official receipts. It shows official receipt we issued whenever we receive money. For example, here you have the reference number of 19000051 and the date is 5th of January in 2019. So these are the details of reference that you need in official receipts. You should write where the money you received from. Let's say it received from AK Enterprise. So that is the payment for January rental. So you have rental received. And the payment using check, and we put the reference of the check number, that is BIMB Bank, Bank Islam Malaysia Berhad, and the check number is 22457, and the amount of the check is 500 ringgit, and the total will be 500. The official receipts should be signed who prepared the official receipt. Otherwise, no one knows who prepared the receipt and where the money comes from. You can't explain it later. Okay, the receipt from a signature is an optional. If you receive cash or cash in hand or the check from the person itself, then you can ask the person to sign the receipt from signatures. So otherwise, it can be blanked out. Okay, source of documents, official receipts records or explain the money inflow, and some other source of document can be used for receiving money, can be in terms of slip of bank or bank slip or cash bill whenever you sales by cash, or electronic fund transfer transcript that can be informed in instant message or in a form that you receive an email notifications. And cash receipt can be proven by memo source of document. For example, you receive money from the owner as contribution to the business, so you just put in the memo. But since it received money, so you need to record in cash receipt journal. So any inflow of cash, including contribution from the owner, must be recorded in cash receipt journal. So this is the format with 6 columns. The blue columns can be ignored. You can leave it out. Okay, this the same as the cash payment journal or cash disbursement journal. You must have the date column particular explaining where the money comes from. The reference can be the cash bills, reference, electronic fund transfer transcript references, or the official receipt number. Folio column is an optional. You may leave it out because the folio will tell you where it goes. For example, the rental bill goes to the general ledger, and the payment from customer should not PL, is supposed to be SL, sales ledger 1. Okay, the column we have cash in cash disbursement journal we have discount received, but in cash receipts journal we have discount allowed column, because whenever we allow customer to pay less, we need to record the discount that we allow the customer, and the cash column and also the bank column. If you can see here, this column it put DR means debit, and the three blue columns we put credit because there's a column of debtors or account receivables, sales, and others. Okay, let's say the example of you receive money in terms of rental receipt. So your particular, you can put rental or rental receipt, and the reference number, probably the official receipt number, and you receive using a check. You receive the check, so you will put the money 500 ringgit in the bank column. So if you receive cash in hand money, so you will put in the cash in hand column. Okay, the next one, for the example of customer paid to the debt. So the total debt of Gina Saloon is actually 2,000 ringgit, but we allow Gina to pay less. That is, this discount allowed we give to Gina is 200 ringgit. So the amount of check actually we receive from Gina is 1,800 ringgit. Usually when we put the amount in the bank column, we must refer to the check. So what is the check number amount? And at the end of the month, the cash received journal must be total. So you will have what are the total discount allowed for the month, total of the cash for the month, and also the total cash in bank for the month. Let me share with you the audit trail of business documents, because some business document will not affect accounting records. Okay, let's say here we have the sales process. The sales process, first of all, are triggered by the order from customer, and customer issued a purchase order and sent it to the sales office, and the sales office will translate the purchase order of the customer into a sales order. So sales order is our business documents, and this sales order reflect what are the items in the purchase order, customer purchase order. And the sales order will be given to the warehouse or store department that kept our inventory, and the warehouse will issue a packing slip along with the item that customer wants to a shipping department, and the shipping department will issue a delivery note that will attach along with the product to be sent to the customer, and the shipping department will send that delivery note to customer. Once the delivery note has been signed by customer, and that the duplicate copy of delivery note will be sent to finance department, and the finance department will refer the delivery note in order to send out the invoice to customer. The red one, sales order, packing slip, delivery note, will not affect the accounting records, but it is business documents that needed in the sales process. So it can be the audit trail for sales process. Okay, next I can show you the purchase process and how the audit trail of business document in this process. Okay, whenever we want to acquire, normally it comes from a purchase requisition form whereby issued by the warehouse or the production department or any other department that requires some inventory for the purchasing department to purchase. So this purchase requisition form will be sent to purchasing department, and the purchasing department will issue a purchase order and will send the purchase order to supplier. So the supplier will send a delivery note to the warehouse, and then the warehouse production department or any other department that received the inventory from supplier will issue the goods received note form, and this GRN, or another name it calls receiving report, RR. Then the goods received note or RR will be given to a finance department, and supplier will send the invoice to finance department. So finance department must compare the goods received note and purchase order and also with the invoice so that they are tally before the finance department issue a payment to supplier. Again, in the rate business document, that is purchase requisition form, purchase order, goods received note, and delivery note from supplier are not affect the accounting records. The one which affect the accounting record is only the invoice from supplier. Okay, that's it for now. Thank you for watching the video. Please watch out for the next video for the next topic of FAR110. Bye-bye.